Hey everyone, it's Mark from Stocks and Cash. It's February 20th, 2018. Here with your market update. Going to go over some holdings and then the usual potential setups for tomorrow. So let's look at the SPY. So today we had a doji type candle, another indecision type candle, low volume, kind of the pause type, movement that I had talked about, coming down and testing these, the 21 and the, actually the 55s are on here too, and the 8 exponential moving average. Everything's kind of bunched up. We touched it, touched the top of this 68.2 retracement and settled right in the middle. So, indecision, tomorrow the Fed minutes will be released. What does that mean? Basically, if inflation is anticipated to be high, we could see a drop in the stocks, similar to the CPI release from a few weeks ago. Or if that's not the case and inflation looks to be low, according to the Fed, then maybe we continue on up. So I see a couple things here. What I see is potentially a bullish flag. It's usually a few days of candles with small movement, declining volume, which I know it's only 2 days. Usually I believe it's 3. So maybe we get another doji type candle tomorrow. And then we bounce on Thursday after we digest the minutes. That's one potential scenario. Another scenario is that we continue to move sideways, which I don't quite think is likely. I think these Fed minutes are going to get the market moving in one direction or another. And then the other scenario, well, I'm going to leave that line there since I can't quite get it. The other scenario, you see I have this teal box here, and that's basically my measurement from the low that we've had over the last few weeks. This low here to this peak here, and this is kind of that kind of warning zone, support zone if we do sell off tomorrow or later in the week. I think if we do sell off, coming down and testing the 100 is possible. I mean, certainly we could come all the way back down and test the 100% retracement down to 253 level. I think that's less likely. I just drew it there, as a talking point. Maybe it's wishful thinking, but I think this bullish flag could play out depending on how those minutes are taken by the market, which I believe they get released around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So, I personally would try and limit your positions until we get a more clearly defined direction in the market. Whether it's up or down, you can play it, but for now, we're kind of in no man's land right now. If you sell spreads, an iron condor is a potential good move. You would sell your spread here and here, given some room, and hope that we stay in this range for the duration of those spreads. That's an option. I personally don't do spreads. It's not part of my trading plan, at least not right now. And I know what an iron condor is, but to tell you exactly how to execute it, I can't really do that. But just something if you do write spreads, that's a potential play that you could make use of and collect the premium on those spreads. So again, we'll see what happens with the Fed minutes tomorrow. All I would really like is some confirmation in the movement of the market. I think the easiest would be bullish, just because we're already through these exponential moving averages. We're past the simple. We're almost out of this fib retracement zone. So in terms of trading simplicity, it'd be nice to just have a nice bullish candle tomorrow and continue on up now that we've had this little pause and reset. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. Let's take a look at the Qs. A little bit different story on the Qs. Still not the nicest looking candle. I would expect us to come back and test the 8 simple moving average and the 21 EMA. potentially come back and test the 55, which you can kind of see is right around here. You know, the 160 level. So I do think there's some potential to pull back in the Qs. Again, you know, we don't like to be, or the you know, stocks and ETFs don't like to be too far away from the 8 EMA. So we might come and test this level here and then be on our way back up. But again, it just depends on what the market does. I didn't draw a little danger zone on the SPY. I mean, sorry, on the Qs. But I imagine it would be kind of in the same area, you know, around here, which coincides with the 100 and this ascending trend line. So I don't think it's anything to panic about. Yeah, you can also see that the MACD is crossed bullishly on the Qs, although the Stokes are trying to reset. But then again, you have descending volume. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of conflicting signals, and considering where we are in the middle of this trend, it's really hard to say bullish or bearish when things aren't exactly lining up. So again, hopefully tomorrow after the Fed releases their minutes, we can get some clarity and pick a direction and start making some fun trades. So with that being said, here are my holdings. Target had an ugly day today. I was not happy with that. You know, it opened low. It kind of tested the low of these two candles here, bounced back up, and closed kind of where it opened. So kind of well, not kind of, definitely an ugly doji. It did not have earnings today. It did have Walmart did have earnings, and it was a miss. So I had read that you know, the Walmart miss might have had some influence on retail and stores like Target and Walmart. So you know, I kind of wish I had gone out of this at the end of the day. There's really no need to be holding on to it still. So you know, 5-minute rule for me tomorrow. If we don't get a close above that first 5-minute candle, I'm just going to get out of Target. It's not performing well. I don't like the looks of the chart. And you know, there's nothing I really could have done on this one. You know, it just opened up low. You know, the pattern wasn't a beautiful pattern, but it wasn't awful either. But hey, you win some, you lose some. You know, I'm not down huge, down probably about 10 or 15% on the trade. Unfortunate, but you know, I will, like I said, get out at the you know, if the 5-minute candle, the first 5-minute candle is violated to the downside, then I will just close my position. Next one, JP Morgan, also had an ugly candle today, but you know, not as bad as Target. Also a doji, tested the 8 EMA. Volume was pretty solid. So you know, a lot of indecision here in JP Morgan. This is another one I may get out of before Fed minutes are released, just in case the market does decide to pull back or you know, have a volatility spike. One that I am happy with is Microsoft. It was up today, thankfully. Closed at 92.72, opened at 91.48, so it had about a dollar gain there, I guess. Am I reading that correctly? The open was 91.48 and the close is 92.72. So yeah, $1.50 on Microsoft. So that one's looking pretty nice. And you can see MACD is starting to cross over. RSI is bullish. The Stokes are kind of rolling, which is a little concerning. You know, and if the market does fall back, I don't see any reason why Microsoft wouldn't follow it. So I may lock in my profit there, depending on the price action tomorrow in Microsoft. Now let's take a look at some potential plays for tomorrow. And you know, this is going to depend on what the market does and what you feel comfortable trading. So first I got 3 potential bullish trades. American Express. Not the greatest candle, but we did close above the 55. We're closed above all of the other moving averages. Again, Stokes are kind of rolling over like we've seen on the last few stocks we've looked at, but MACD is strongly crossing over bullishly. It'd be nice to get across above that 0 line. RSI is kind of meandering in the middle here, so definitely some potential here on American Express. I think it's going to depend on what the market does, you know, before getting into a trade here. long. This is probably an end of the day type trade if the market responds favorably, as long as it hasn't gotten away too far up to this level here. It's something that we could look into getting into. A couple others that I think are even nicer than this trade. Let's see, LNG. This one came and touched the 8 EMA, had a nice strong close, very nice volume. MACD is starting to cross over bullishly. The Stokes are overbought, but you know they can live up there as we've seen. And MACD barely has crossed bullishly. So this one I would not be too afraid to get into on a 5-minute. You know, the 5-minute rule. There is this gap that it would be nice if it filled. So you could look at a first target of 58. 85, and then 60 would be your second target here. Third target 62, fourth target 64. So a lot of stops along the way, but you know, depending on your risk, depending on your trading plan, this is one that might be worth getting into. Another one, STX, Seagate, had a similar nice bullish candle. You know, we're sitting above. Whoops. Sitting above the moving averages. Volume was pretty low, unfortunately, and it's hard to see it because some of these earnings volumes like really were high. You can see this one is 22 million volume, and then all the way down here you only at 2 million. So it's hard to really see. You know, it's going to look really small average volume compared to these. Earning report days, but you know, Seagate is kind of moving along, following a nice trend. The only thing I'm concerned with is that MACD hasn't crossed over yet, and Stokes are kind of rolling, but RSI has room to run still too. So again, I think it depends what the overall market does. You know, all three of these stocks, if you want to get in early, that's up to you. But just again, be aware that once the Fed minutes come out, you know, maybe we shoot up depending on the news. But I would expect a little bit of volatility. Next, I'm going to show you 3 potential bearish trades. FedEx. So FedEx kind of came up, touched the EMA, touched the 38.2 retracement, both on Friday and today. You know, we pushed through today, but we sold off. We couldn't hold it. Closed below the EMA. Sorry, that was on Friday. And then today, you know, a pretty strongly bearish candle, although volume was a little bit lower. Stokes rolling over. MACD is still bearish, and RSI is, you know, down in the oversold. You know, we haven't quite crossed that line yet, but it's facing downward. So what I'd like to see is us getting through the 100 simple moving average. This would be something at the end of the day. If we, you know, if markets roll over, we close down below it, as long as it's not too far. You know, if it's a big black candle all the way down here, I wouldn't necessarily get in. But, you know, if we're just kind of, you know, $1 or $2 below this line towards the end of the day, it might be worth buying a few puts. So that's kind of what I'm looking at in FedEx. Another one is UPS, obviously another mail carrier, pretty similar. You know, it's had this big sell-off. We're way below all the moving averages. The Stokes are very oversold. RSI is very oversold. Again, we can live there. MACD is obviously bearish, and if I move the chart here, there's a target at 94.94. Now that assumes that we close below, you know, the fib line here and this support level. So if I zoom back out, this support level here, 103 is something that we want to watch out for. You can see we tested it here, tested it here, tested it here, here. You know, a lot of spots, and then it acted as resistance, you know, before it became support later on. So we'll see if that support holds or if it breaks. But if it does break, you know, we could come all the way back down to 94 on UPS. So something to watch. Definitely something towards the end of the day. If it's hanging out below this line here by a little bit, you know, it might be worth buying some puts and playing, you know, more of the downside on UPS. Now, conversely, if the markets behave, this could be a potential buying opportunity. You're buying near resistance lows, strong support lows. You could buy some calls if we do close above here and the markets are acting favorably, and play something. Nothing says we're going to get all the way back up, but your risk is very low. You put your stop at the low here, around 102.42, and you have all this potential to go back up to 135. So very low risk, high reward type play on the bullish side if the markets behave. But again, I'm looking at this bearishly, assuming that we continue the downtrend, we punch through the support line, we could continue on down further. So that's my thought on UPS. One more here, Walmart. So I was looking at Walmart bullishly yesterday, and foolishly, I didn't realize that Walmart had its earnings report. So it had it today, it missed. It came out this morning before the market opened. We are below this kind of consolidation support level. We're below the 100 simple moving average. MACD is clearly bearish. RSI is bearish. Stokes are bearish. Huge volume on this sell-off today, and we just entered a gap. Now, gaps tend to like to fill. It doesn't mean that it's going to, but we're at 94.11. We could come all the way down to 90.68. $3 just to get into that gap. If I redraw the fibs, for some targets, 92.36 and 87.49. I would actually, let me see. Interestingly enough, if I draw the fibs from here to this swing, this our 161.8 target lines up almost perfectly with the gap. So this might be something you want to look at. This might be a more accurate retracement than this one. So if we look at this, and I guess that makes sense, this is the last swing before we had our down move. We're touching target 1 almost. We get through target 1, target 2 is 90.79, which is this, filling this gap. So definitely think there's some opportunity here in Walmart for a day trade, or maybe a small swing for a day or two. The last few we're going to look at are all going to kind of be similar in the sense that we're looking for a close. We're looking for breakouts. So just going to run through real quick. There's really not much to say on them beyond the fact that they're potential breakouts. Nike, had some down candles here. We touched the breakout level of 68.8. Couldn't hold it above there. We got to 69, but couldn't hold it. And this could be a bullish flag potentially. Could be. It could also be, a sign that we're just, consolidating at a double top before we start our descent back down. So, like I said, it's kind of tough to make a determination of exactly where we're at and what we're doing here. But if we got to close above 68.8, if the markets rally and they like the Fed minutes, we could continue on higher. Another one is Netflix. Again, you can see that we're up here testing our highs, our breakout level of 286.61. If we get a close above here, it'd be worth potentially getting into at the end of the day. 301 and 320. Netflix has been really strong overall, but we want to get that confirmation that we close above this breakout level. So until then, I would not personally touch Netflix at this point since I'm not already in it. Let's see, MasterCard is another one that we've been looking at the last few nights. Again, same thing. Want to get a close above this breakout level here before we go in towards the end of the day. If there's 5 minutes or so left in the market, it's sitting comfortably above here. You can go ahead and buy some calls and see if we get to our levels of 182 and 189. LULU is another one. Hasn't been able to break through and hold You can see again volume was declining. This could be a bullish flag potentially, but again we need to get a close above here for confirmation before we go ahead and enter a trade at this point long. In my personal opinion, my trading plan is that's what it says. I need it to close above this level before I would go long on it. So that's what I'm waiting for. And then the last one, NVDA, again, same thing. It's also been a strong stock. It had a pretty nice candle today, pretty nice volume. MACD is clearly bullish. RSI and Stokes are also bullish, although the Stokes are a little overbought. Overbought here. So, but that being said, we got to close above here. Next target would be 262 and then 278. So, definitely like NVIDIA if the market cooperates. That's all I got for tonight. If anyone has any comments or questions, please let me know. Happy to answer. Other than that, have a good night and enjoy your trading day.